Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Monday, the 30th of May. With Robert Murray McShane's reading scheme, today we begin reading the book of Revelation, the beginning of this vision that John has, this experience in the spirit of the heavenly realm. And at the beginning of the book, he hears a voice speaking. And in verse 12, he says, I turned around to see the voice that was speaking to me. And when I turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands. And among the lampstands was someone like a son of man, dressed in a robe reaching down to his feet, with a golden sash around his chest. The hair on his head was white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like blazing fire. His feet were like bronze glowing in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of rushing waters. In his right hand he held 7 stars, and coming out of his mouth was a sharp double-edged sword. His face was like the sun shining in all its brilliance. As I read that, I think, what was John seeing? And my impression is that he hasn't got the words to describe it. Because when you take this vision and you try and draw it, and I've seen some people attempt it, it looks completely bizarre, almost comical, particularly this notion of a sword coming out of the person's mouth. But the way I make sense of it is John sees something, and he then has to try and find words to describe it. And our human language, bound as it is to our human existence inside the universe, we haven't got the concepts and the words and the ideas to describe the God who is outside of the universe and the creator of it all. And so as John catches this glimpse of the Son of Man, he just doesn't have the language. And so he does the best he can, which is why there's so much of it which is like this, and it was like that, and it looked like this, the following. And you have this person, this vision of this person with eyes like blazing fire, his feet like bronze glowing in a furnace, and the sword coming out of his mouth, and his face shining like the sun in all its brilliance. Here was this glorious vision of this Son of Man, this God that had come to earth. And John's response, he says, when I saw him, I fell at his feet as though dead. And we need to remember that as human beings, if we come into the presence of God, we will be overwhelmed. God is described as of purer eyes than to look on evil. And evil is such that it cannot exist in the presence of the holy God. And John's response would be the same as all of us. We'd fall on our face, fall down as though dead, possibly echo Isaiah, woe is me. And yet, given that glory of God, the amazing thing is that God reaches out to us. And we have the story that God didn't just reveal himself to us, but he took human form and he stepped into our world so that we could get to understand, that we could relate to him. And you look through the Gospels, and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John describe Jesus as a human being. There's this great teacher. And they catch a glimpse of his glory, but it doesn't overwhelm them. And so this is the graciousness of God. He is beyond our understanding. He is overwhelmingly glorious. And yet he took human form to reach out to you and to I. What a glorious God we serve. Rejoice in that and be blessed.